Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to record my 15 days on my motorbike riding across Australia. Initially it was to try and get to Uluru and then head back to Perth on the Great Central Road, but a few problems arose and we had to turn back to Adelaide to get a new front tyre. And then I decided, no, we'll try it another time. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. It records basically all the so-called events that happened on the way. And having spent 15 days riding my motorbike, I'm a little bit over it, but I did enjoy it really. It was better than sitting around the house, that's for sure. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, leaving HYDEN, I went down the HYDEN Norseman road, which was predominantly dirt. It was quite well maintained, a few rough patches and a bit of loose gravel here and there, but no sort of major problems. And we ended up spending the first night at this place called the Breakaways, which is about halfway along the gravel section. And it was quite a pleasant little stay, and a bit cold at night though, and we left in the morning rugged up because it was really quite cold in the morning too. And the day sort of progressed and warmed up quite a bit, and we came out from this road onto the Goldfields Esperance Road, I think it's called, and filled up at Norseman, and then progressed to Belladonna, where we spent the night there. It was about 200 k's from Norseman, so we rode probably about 400 k's that day. Here we are, sort of flying the drone around the breakaways. Very pleasant place. It even had a long drop dunny there. The road was in reasonable condition, and this bike sort of handles gravel quite nicely. It can slide around a bit, but if you sort of sit on about 70 to 90, it's quite a pleasant sort of drive, and it makes a reasonable time. And this actual road cuts about 120 kilometres off the full distance to Norseman. Mind you, on the way back I thought, I'll try and go the normal bitumised way, because riding on gravel you have to focus quite heavily just to make sure you're picking the right line all the time, otherwise you can easily sort of crash. And I thought, I've had enough of the distance I've already covered, this is on the way back, so I thought I'll go on the bitumen. But in fact it was worse than the gravel. The traffic on that section of road between Norseman and Kalgoorlie, it was just sort of amazing. There was trucks going either way, big road trains, caravans, lots of tourists in cars. It was like a sort of freeway in Perth. It was very busy. It makes sort of passing and all that sort of thing sort of more stressful than it should be. I like a nice open road ahead of me when I'm riding my motorbike. I don't like not being able to see up ahead, and that's the problem when you've got lots of traffic. You can't sort of visualise the actual road ahead very well, and that makes it sort of stressful and probably more dangerous. But anyway, we travelled on this gravel until we got to the end of it, and it was great. This road leads onto the Norseman Kalgoorlie road, so we head down towards Norseman and get onto the air highway. So we actually filled the bike up with petrol at Norseman and proceeded to ride to Balladonia. A very vocal crow set up in the tree above my tent, and here it is sort of making noises to its mates across the bush somewhere else. Makes a hell of a noise. I was at the Nullarbor Roadhouse and this wild dingo came in from the bush and started wandering around the petrol station. Don't know what it was doing, but anyway, it was certainly wandering around. Tuesday the 7th, I had a day off from riding my bike and had a bit of a wander around Coober Pedy. It was quite an interesting sort of walk. We put the drone up and got some footage, and then we went to the museum, which is an old opal mine which they've converted to a museum for visitors to walk around through the actual old mine. And they had a shop where if you had enough money you could buy the opals, but they were somewhat expensive, the ones they had on display. A couple they wouldn't even let me sort of buy them. Anyway, here we are, just enjoy the footage. The 7th of October, Coober Pedy. Yeah, I took a bit of a video of the cracks on my front tyre just to show you people the situation. It's not sure if it's unsafe or not, but I preferred to sort of play safe, so that's why I decided to change the tyre. Yeah, I must admit I wouldn't feel confident passing road trains at a speed that I have to pass them with this front tyre. It may sort of explode. This is day 8 of the motorbike trip across Oz. We left Coober Pedy around about 9:30 and headed off back down the Stuart Highway because I'm not confident about my front tyre, which has splits going all around the outer circle, and I don't think it will last the trip across the Nullarbor. So anyway, we headed off back down the road and ended up at Port Augusta for the night. And on the way we took some footage of some of the scenery on the way and so forth. So enjoy. Also note the heavy rain clouds. I eventually made Adelaide after traversing through the rush hour traffic, which was pretty horrific, and we booked into this quite nice hotel. It was nearby where the tyre place was, so it was all worked out quite well. I ended up getting a Dunlop Mission Raid tyre, which is still a knobbly, but it wasn't quite as noisy as the other one I had, and it's supposed to be better on the road. While staying at the hotel, I had a few odd jobs to do. My boots had, the plastic part had cracked, so I had to sort of rejoin it. So using my dental floss, I've got some very strong dental floss, I sewed them up. The Flinders Adelaide University was just across the road from the hotel, and there were lots of big corporation type sort of businesses had their buildings in this area, which was all quite new. I left Adelaide at about 9:30 in the morning, went through all the rush hour horrific traffic, trying to find my way back to the road going to Port Augusta. Anyway, we eventually got the road and passed a few interesting things on the way down, like this big pink lake. It was quite huge. There was a couple of them actually, and lots of traffic, and the wind was something horrific. It was gusting and blowing my head around in the crash helmet, and it wasn't very comfortable riding down. But anyway, the new tyre seems to be working well. Put the drone up to get some shots of the town side and the surrounding hills and various salt pans, and not too many other features sort of stood out. There's a causeway crossing some of the salt pans as we get closer to the town site, but apart from that, it's just another big South Australian town. Tomorrow we'll be heading off early in the morning, heading towards Ceduna, and I hope to probably stay the night there too. So we'll see how we go. And after Ceduna it will be Belladonna Roadhouse for an overnight there, and then Kalgoorlie, and then home, hopefully. Anyway, we'll keep you posted. So I hope you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Riding a long way to make all these videos. Many hours on the bike. Anyway, it's an adventure. Left Ceduna early this morning and had intended to go down to Fowler's Bay and stay the night there, but as the weather was really nice and no wind, I thought I might try and get to the Nullarbor Cliffs so I could get some better drone footage. With no wind, it's much easier to fly the drone without worrying about it disappearing down into the ocean. So anyway, off we went. We got to the Nullarbor Cliffs and put the drone up and got some quite nice video. got to Balladonia, this hot aircraft taxied up to the fuel pump. It had landed in a nearby gravel airstrip, and the guy filled it up with 91 octane petrol. Yeah, we left Balladonia fairly early in the morning and headed off to Norseman, and then headed to the Great Eastern Highway back to Perth 9.5 hours later.